this should be a requisite for issuing driver's license.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I must say that when we look at the statistics that, as have been mentioned by Mr. Razal already, it's quite concerning. If you look at having 25 people per 100,000 of the population dying, you're looking into the excess of about 7,000 people. And if you go back to about 2014, realize that professing some of the people with the research, they found out that even at that time, we're looking at figures of people involved in grievous accidents going in excess of about 21,000 over a period of 10 years, which means you're looking at about 2,100 people a year. That has significant effect on people's ability to even have safer lives in the country. Recently, about 2 years ago, they looked at the figures in terms of even the cost on households, both directly and indirectly, and they found out that an average household was spending about $1,600 on care for patients that were involved in road traffic accidents. So if you think about all of this, both socially and economically, it's a very important thing that we have to consider. And these are things that we can actually do. If you go to Uganda, they look at training drivers and seeing how they can follow them up and look at how it has improved their system. And over the period of time, they realized that almost all the people they trained, when they followed up over 6 months period, were able to retain the information they had given them in terms of how to apply safety measures on the road to help improve care and life. And in addition, it didn't even require an extensive level of education. Even people with informal educational background were able to help. And in Ghana, about almost 94% of the time, you have somebody there to help an accident victim. So you can say, therefore, that having this knowledge of people always being available to help the accident victims, especially when the evidence have shown that most of the time the people that are present are drivers, in some situations, family members. If we're able to provide training for these drivers in how to provide care, it will go a long way. And when we look at what form of training they even receive, it's not anything that is extensive. It looks at about 5 main parameters: how to create a safe area after the accident has happened, how to position the patient or the client or victim after that, how to make sure that if the person is bleeding, you stop the bleeding. In the European or temperate regions, they look at how to minimize hypothermia, and also in situations where the patient is even stuck, how to extricate the patient, the victim. These are the things that are looked at. And if you think about it, they are not difficult things to do and to train these people. So definitely, the evidence is clear. It goes a long way to help improve outcomes of these patients. And especially when it comes to trauma, we talk about the golden 1 hour rule, where if anybody is injured and you are able to provide some level of care within the first 1 hour, it will definitely improve outcomes of the patient. So I definitely agree.
Well, thank you very much. You've already answered my next question, which I was going to ask if it will actually increase the accident victims' survival rates in Ghana. Well, we will pick a few questions, super maximum 3 questions from all of you here. So please, as they are talking, you can quickly note them down. We can only take 3. I told you earlier on, we're not going to spend a lot of time here. Please, can you pass the microphone to Mr. Sato? Yes, and he is from, well, Chief Superintendent. Oh no, Chief Superintendent is not here. You're from TVLA. Okay, so, referencing the mandatory refresher training bill, which is the regulation 32 and 125 of the 2012 LI 2118 passed by the government, how will this be implemented? NC. Oh, sorry. So, yes, it's you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Ours is a reform that is being targeted at improving road safety and also the knowledge base of drivers and vehicle owners across the country. So if you look at both regulations 33 and 125, the idea behind those regulations is to ensure that first of all drivers know what they are doing, and then they have the capacity to respond to various hazardous situations in the road environment. Which is why if you look at the various reforms that the licensing authority has gone through since 2017, you would realize that the focus has been on empowering the knowledge base of the driver, first of all, and then equipping that same driver with the necessary competencies to respond to some of the divergent issues that we are discovering based on R&D in the road transport environment. So if you look at all of the initiatives that we've looked at over the years, for instance, the introduction of simulators, in testing and ensuring that the driver has an all-round experience, in ensuring that he's able to, operate the vehicle, understand the social and psychological influences on himself or herself, and then understand again the mechanics behind operating the vehicle efficiently and effectively. These are the fundamentals around which licensing regimes are generally, built on. So for instance, if we go out to test a driver today, the driver will be fortunate to be tested under a rainy condition. Fast forward that to a season where it isn't raining and the driver has to be tested. The licensing authority at that particular time is unable to simulate such conditions for the driver to be tested, which is why the simulator regime is very critical in ensuring that at all times the licensing authority will be able to provide various road conditions, for the driver and or vehicle owner to be tested. Beyond that, again, as our CEO was speaking, he made mention about some of the innovations, in the transport space. For instance, you're having, R&D, you're having vehicle lives, being improved. So you have a situation where, for instance, right now the entire body of the vehicle is a sensor. And so within us, the roadworthiness regime has to change, And so gone are the days where you would walk to DVLA and then the technical officer would just hit your tire, so this car is good to go. Now you subject the entire vehicle to a computer-based test to understand what the mechanical failures of the vehicle are, and then proceed to advise what the vehicle owner must do to conform with the road worthy regulations. These are the realities that the licensing authority currently has on ground. Which is why when my good friend was speaking about inadequacies in training regimes across the country, particularly with respect to providing licenses to drivers, I wanted to provide additional information in that regard to say that if you come to DVLA right now, the philosophy is not just to provide licenses, but to ensure that when you hold a license from DVLA, the licensing authority is very sure that you've acquired all the knowledge and competencies to respond. Okay. So, for instance, we want to provide, exactly. We want to provide the same knowledge base to our friends, who've not had the privilege of formal education, which is why we are translating the entire knowledge base into 6 local Ghanaian languages.
Well, with all this implementation, very beautiful ideas, but how do you intend to monitor those? I mean, judging from the fact that you have pattern trainers, training schools, and also with the road boys, the issue of the road boys, how do you intend to monitor this?
Okay, so Backend is a platform on which all the driving schools, accredited driving schools are connected. And then the curricula is developed, monitored, and maintained by the licensing authority. So for instance, we have a regime where we determine at all times what the driver should learn and know, the basis for which that same driver is examined and then certified. So all driving schools across the country. So let's take the regime where in a quarter, 1,000 drivers pass through a particular driving school. The success and pass rates of such driving school is one of the key parameters that the licensing authority monitors. We want to know on what category of the test regime are the drivers failing in a particular driving school. That assists the licensing authority to determine whether or not that driving school itself has to go through refresher training for its instructors and the way forward. And so monitoring, and again, there's an entire framework, what we call the CMR model, that we understand what the challenges are. We learn through the process, ensure that the knowledge we have learned is rebuilt into improving the same database, and then go ahead to improve the system that we have.
Well, Mr. Ramzan, thank you very much. Please, let's have it for him. Now let me come to you. Right? So, I just want to know how the ministry will work with these three pillars. The trainers, that is the DVLA of road safety, law enforcement, that is the NTTB, and Ghana Police, and the emergency response unit, that is the ambulances, the fire service, to help reduce road traffic crashes in Ghana.
Thank you. So first of all, starting from the mandates of both DVLA and the National Road Safety. So the DVLA promotes good driving standards enforced by the NRSA. Now, with regards to the ministry or from technology perspective, so these there could be collaboration where it enhance the capacity building of the drivers as well as the...
Sorry, please, could you do me a favor, speak into the microphone, please, so that you could be heard. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I'll say that there will be collaboration from a technology perspective with capacity building. So for the road users, the drivers, the inspectors, and everybody. And I'm glad to know the extent of technology that is being implemented at the DVLA, for example. So these, from technology perspective, we could collect data. You know, we keep talking, the DG was talking about the use of artificial intelligence. So when these data is collected, normally it's the behavior of the drivers. One typical one that he mentioned is also when we're driving and texting. Obviously, that would cause an accident. But these data, when the accident had happened, if we can collect these data, we'll be able to put them for the machine to learn. And therefore, will be the essence of machine learning or artificial intelligence is to be able to learn of these behavior and be able to make predictions ahead of, before even the accident will happen. So for the policeman, for want of time, so I'm trying to miss the enforcement and so on. So the policeman who would be on the roadside could also be monitoring, you know, and based on those data, when he sees a vehicle speeding at a particular or maneuvering at certain ways on the highway, obviously you know that that could easily cause an accident, which could also affect others using artificial intelligence data that has been collected. There could also be use of speed cameras as well as smart traffic lights. Most of our traffic light systems here, even as late as say 11 p.m., it will still be showing the same, or sometimes just blinking on the amber. So some of these data could be collected because even as late as that time, there could be collision from different angles. So in a smart traffic light system, we'll be able to sense that there's a vehicle coming from this, and therefore quickly change to red to stop that one, rather than all of them showing amber and these drivers maybe colliding and so on. In terms of enforcement, for example, the National Insurance Commission with MTTB built a motor insurance database that was introduced in January 2020, for example, and with about 400 police NTTB trained. So on the road, they could use a short code, a simple short code, *920*57# which is provided by the NCA. So this short code could tell also even ordinary pedestrian, road users or passengers, when you're boarding a vehicle, you can check whether the insurance on that vehicle is it's a valid one, or even there's insurance at all, or there's no insurance, and so on. So that's where technology comes in. Again, I'm also informed that about 1,000 GOTA phones typically used by the security agencies also have been enabled with this, so that they'll be able to do monitoring and so on to a number of ways that these could be done. We have from the NCA with the MNOs, the mobile network operators, we have location-based and location awareness systems that is deployed with the national security, so that when maybe if there's any emergency, we could also know where you're located using the Ghana digital address, the Ghana Post digital address. So these are all embedded, and it could also be facilitated by NADMO, the ambulance service, fire service, and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of technology, again, I think I've spoken about the texting one. On the vehicles, we would take most of these information at the same time, whether the person is driving, so that there's no distraction. And then, typically when there's an accident, the police will take all those data and feed it into the artificial intelligence system to be able to do further analysis for us. There could also be introduction of intelligent transport systems and navigation devices, which will also reduce congestion. Most of the time, when there is congestion, then as soon as some of the drivers get way out, then they want to catch up on the lost time and so on. So these are some of the technology initiatives that would be the use of radar. I think it was spoken by the PG. And then also the use of hands-free. So we should encourage the drivers, if you have to take a call, for example, most of the modern vehicles you could, most private, you could wire your phone onto your dashboard, so that when a call is coming, you can see and know those that are important to be able to pick that. In conclusion, the mobile networks and the fast data transmission solutions can also be used to collect data on the vehicles and the road conditions, so that we'll be able to make real-time weather predictions also of the road to road users, warning, which will also culminate in reducing accidents. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I would like to take just 2 questions. Quick one, just 2 questions for any of the gentlemen here. Just 2 questions. Okay, let me come to you. Please, when you take the microphone, your name and the institution you represent, if any at all. If you're from the media respect, please let us know. Thank you very much. And direct your question.
Thank you very much. I'm Atikiso from GBRT. My question goes to the panel who is presenting DLA for national road safety. I think in your presentation you talked about simulator and also texting while on the wheels. My question is, in 2014 you did a comprehensive driver training which covered throughout the country the driver population, and the visuals that was shown, and after the feedback it was shown that accidents reduced drastically. Is there any plan to replicate that in the near future? Thank you.
Okay, so can we take the second question? Good. Then we'll have all the answers as I go. Thank you. Please, your name and where you represent.
My name is Benedict Premier driver. My question is going to be here. Before I became a driver, we were sent to put certain into hospital for medical check, and they made sure that we were fit before we were trained. Why don't you consider like testing rather before someone will come and driver? Why don't you go through that process before the person comes out as a driver? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think now we can have the answers. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think this is a usual thing. Very well, you know, I always. But the issue of fitness to drive, as our sister mentioned, is critical and really at the core of what we do. Which is why, if you watch the recent reform that we did, eye test reform, for instance, if you just play your mind back a bit, a few months or years ago, the eye test was being undertaken by PDA staff. And right now, that has changed. We are collaborating with the Ghana Ophthalmologists Association to undertake the eye test. There's so much research to show that visual impairments are contributing in excess of over 50% to road traffic crashes and deaths across the world. And so what is happening now is if you come to DVA applying for a driver's license, and in the next phase to renew your driver's license, you will have to go to an accredited eye doctor to get your eyesight tested. And then we get the results transmitted to us effective immediately. And so when you come to DVA, we are not asking you questions. We are looking at your medical report concerning your eyesight, and the basis for which we decide either to issue you a license or not as part of the criteria. Beyond that, there's our collaboration with NRSA and the Ghana Medical Association. And there are a few research works we are doing right now, for instance, on blood pressure, on heart diseases, etc., and how potentially these could influence your ability to have a license.
Okay.
On our brother's side about driver training, I mentioned the simulator because this is going to help us undertake particular and specific training all year round. But that intervention was to provide specific information and competencies to our brothers GPAC across the world. But fortunately, our CEO is here, and he has heard the appeal. Will undertake that project again, go around the country, and with your support, I believe we'll reach out to many more people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Nana, you wanted to ask a question, but we are so hard pressed for time. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I'd like to first of all thank the three gentlemen here. I think we're done with the panel and we'll continue the program. Please, let's hear from them. Yes. Prof. Deja and Mr. Ivan. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Director General for National Lottery Authority in the person of Ms. Anna Homa Meza. Please, did I get the name right? Okay, thank you very much. Also in our midst, we have Ms. Thelma Aisi of Transit. Please, Ms. Thelma Aisi, are you here? Okay, thank you very much. And then Mr. Dennis Tito, Scania, West Africa. Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Nanasichi, who is the director of Bosch. Okay, good. Well, we're going to continue with it. Now we'll take statements from our sponsors. So please, do I have a rep of GOIL and GCB in our midst? Rep from GOIL. Okay, thank you very much. Please, let's give it up to him.
Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the diplomatic corps, the Honorable Deputy Minister for Transport, Honorable Atman Tampuli, Chiefs, all protocols observed. I bring you warm greetings from the management of GOIL and particularly from our MD, and to say that we are indeed very much gratified to be here and very proud to be associated with this driver and road safety awards. Let me put it on record that God has supporting this laudable program since its inception. And Mr. Chairman, it is quite disheartening to know that road accidents continue to bedevil the country despite the efforts of the National Road Safety Commission and other associate bodies. And the fact that road accidents remain a major public health and development challenge in Ghana should ginger all of us into action. Indeed, the fact that road accidents continue to be among the top 10 causes of deaths and continue to drain a significant percentage of our gross domestic product annually. I don't need to mention many of these things here. It is to stem this tide that Gold, as the biggest indigenous and the one oil marketing company, is continually assisting this campaign to bring road accident numbers down. Gold indeed believes that the safety of passengers should be the concern of every well-meaning Ghanaian and corporate entities as well. With the provision of this support that we are giving to this very laudable program, we are demonstrating that we care about the safety of all Ghanaians beyond the marketing of fuel that we do. Let me assure you that all will continue to assist such laudable road safety efforts that recognize the driver as an important stakeholder in ensuring safety on our roads. While doing this, let me use this opportunity to therefore invite all and sundry to patronize our quality Super SP 95 and our low sulfur diesel fuel, as well as our trusted lubricants to take you to your destinations. Mr. Chairman, this year's theme, the role of information technology in promoting safer road users, bring into sharp focus the need to encourage drivers to continually respect traffic light regulations. There's also a compelling need for agencies to continually improve and provide smart traffic light and control systems, which we have listened to ably here. And I dare add that we should implement and enforce many of these so that we can all be safe on our roads. Once again, let me assure you that government will continue to be a supportive partner to help reduce road accidents. Let us know how small we help in reducing the menace on our roads. I thank you very much, and may God bless us all. My name is Robert Chair, Corporate and Public Affairs Manager at Royal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Commodore George Ako Daze, who is the Deputy Commandant at the Kofi International Peacekeeping Training Center. Please go ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, all the respective arms and the Transport Ministry has spoken and talked about the DDLA, the NRSA. So I think it will be prudent to have the Deputy Minister come onto the stage and give us a statement. Please, let me bring your indulgence so we give him a pulsating round of applause. Give the Deputy Minister for Transport and the rest in the person. Please, I think we can do better. I think we can do better. Thank you very much. For and on behalf of my minister, Honorable Professor, who is under the you have been honorable to be here. So while I get it right, he takes the credit. I get it wrong, I take the blame. Professor Kwame, here representing His Excellency Vice President of the Republic, Excellency representatives of the United States Ambassador, Excellency representative of the UK High Commissioner to Ghana, Excellency Country Representative, Office of the EU Delegation, Excellency Country Rep of the Office of the United Nations, Director General, National Road Safety Authority, the Chief Executive Officer, Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, representative of the National representative of the Christian Council of Ghana, civil society organizations,